Hello! We have a very important topic to discuss today, and this is all about pricing your photography. Let's go! Okay, putting down the tea for once, okay? No, actually no, wait. Now I can go. I said that like 3 sips earlier. 5 pints of tea later. I mean, it's a good tea, right? Okay, I'll put it in here. How to price your photography. Honestly, this is the most talked about topic in couloirs and behind the scenes, but actually no one is literally putting this straight. Photographers have this weird thing that they just don't talk to each other about how they price their work. And like, I can understand why. It's like, I'm making this money, like, don't copy me. Like, I get that. But at the same time, it is in our own interest as an industry to know how much we charge, how much we actually value our work. Because guess what? The whole world around us, they just don't know how to price photography, how to price content creation, especially now in like era of social media, TikTok, whatsoever. So in this video, I will hopefully give you a pricing guide. So I'm not gonna tell you how to price your photography. This is not the goal for this video. The goal for this video is for you to understand how much is at stake, how much photography involves to actually put a right price on it. But before I actually start talking about pricing itself, I will just talk about a few other more soft things, as some people would say. What you need to understand first before you put a price on your photography. You may come from a background of, I'm doing this as a hobby and then I really like what I do. But then can you actually make it a business? Because having a hobby is not a business. Just because you like your photos doesn't mean that they serve a certain purpose and someone would actually pay for it. Sorry, not sorry, but I have to break it down to you. Just because you like your photos and you have, maybe even a certain following on Instagram or anywhere else, doesn't mean that those photos serve a purpose for a potential client. And that potential client may not see your photography, your images, as resourceful for them to get an income based on what you actually produce. Well, it doesn't have to be an income. There's tons of different purposes for doing photos when it comes to actually having clients and what they need. Because essentially, what distinguishes a hobbyist from a professional is, what is the purpose of your photography? Is it because you're taking photos for a client to bring that client a revenue? Is it photos that will bring awareness to certain, for example, type of venue? Is it photos that will make an impact on sales? All those goals you need to fulfill with your photography in order to make money of it. Photography as a hobby, great, amazing, love it. But business, photography as a business, that's a whole different game. So before you even think about going into it as a business, you need to understand that you need to become a business. You need to solve a problem that your client has with your images. Can you do that? The answer is yes. Congratulations, you have a business, or at least start of it. So let's get you more prepared. There are different types of photography, and depending on that type of photography, your earnings will be different. They all require different things. A portrait photographer will require a different set, not only of skills, but also gear-wise, different types of gear than, for example, a wedding photographer or a e-commerce photographer. I would divide photography into 3 social photography. social photography that would involve events, working with people, like portraits, weddings, all that stuff. It will be a commercial photography, especially like e-commerce, fashion, beauty, makeup, brands, things like that. Hospitality as well. And then travel photography that involve all kind of landscapes and adventures. Each of those three require, as I said, many different things. So for example, for a portrait photography, sometimes all you need to have is just a camera, but also you sometimes need to shoot a portrait in a studio or a headshot for a company. So that requires more stuff. For a wedding, you need way more equipment. A lot of time you need a car as well. For commercial photography, that is a whole different game. You definitely need to be working in a studio, your camera, but you need to have really good, proper studio lights, strobes, and that really costs a lot of money, and it is your business expense. For travel photography, car is, I would say, definitely essential. Any type of insurance, even life insurance if you're actually, for example, hiking, right? Like anything that's happening on the job, you need to cover that. That's another set of business expense that you need to think about. You know, you actually need to experience that adventure for, I don't know, 2 days, a week. And then after that, you'll be able to actually work on the images. And here lies a question. How do I price my photography? Based on what I do, how I do it, what's my level of experience, what I know, what is the type of photography that I love, what is the type of photography that I'm doing for a client, how much time does it take to make it happen, how much time it is to prepare, how much time it is to execute it on the day, how much time does it take to edit everything, or do I even edit it myself? Do I need any more team members? Do I need a stylist? Do I need makeup artists? Do I need hair? And do I need anybody who prepares sets, design, and so on and so on and so on. And based on that, that will be how we price photography. There are different ways how people price their photography. One of the most popular is per hour. And what I would say with per hour, it is usually the method that is priced by amateurs and students and people that just started in a business of photography. They had certain type of experience in their life, just being an employee working for somebody else, so they are usually used to be paid hourly. But in photography, in any content creation industry, this is, but again, that is just my opinion, the most harmful way to price your craft. Why is that? Well, think about it. Day has only 24 hours. Whatever rate you said, let's just say 20 pounds per hour, right? 20 times per hour times 24. That means you can only make 480 pounds. That's it. You can spend all that day working and you're only gonna make that amount of money per day. Even though your skills might be through the roof, clients, especially low-paying clients, really like that rate because it gives them some kind of a guide of how much, oh, I'm paying you for 2 hours of work. That's a lot. What they don't understand, this is a real life example that I had from a company that I've done. I've shot for 120 pounds. Yes, I know. And they hired me for 5 hours, and that was in London. And this is what they thought they are charging me for, like I'm charging them for. So it's 120 pounds divided by 5. So in their mind, it was 24 pounds per hour. What this job actually involved was 5 hours of editing plus 7 hours of travel time, 5 hours of editing. So that's 17 hours of work. Now let's divide 120 pounds divided by 17 hours. So I made 7 pounds per hour below national minimum wage. Do you see the problem right now? Because essentially, when are you charging per hour? where you are actually harming yourself. Again, in my opinion, you're only charging per execution. The time that actually client sees you working, this is for what you're charging. But reality, the job involves way more hours of work. So if you're shooting a corporate event, 2 hours, client is, for example, paying you £200 for 2 hours, so they think they're paying you £100 an hour. What they don't see is that you're gonna spend 4 hours editing and 2 hours all the, exporting and stuff, and all the admin stuff that you had to do to get that job. So all the emails exchange, all the meetings, all that stuff, this should be also counted in that job. So for example, client thinks they paid you for 2 hours of work because they would see you only working for 2 hours, but in reality, for example, it was 10 hours of work. So now you have £200 divided by 10 hours. Exactly. This is how you harm your business, by pricing it per hour. It may work for you, great, amazing, but make sure that you charge accordingly to the estimated time. And this comes with experience. So this is why the per hour method is mostly used by hobbyists, amateurs, and people that just start really early. It is harmful because you don't have level of experience yet to estimate how much time you're gonna spend on the job, because it is not just going somewhere and shooting. It's also editing time, it's also administration, it's the meetings, it's the travel time. All of that is that one job. Another method of pricing your photography would be half day and day rate. This is, I would say, mostly used in commercial settings, because literally this is how they price themselves. Like, I'm there at my time, 3 hours on something or 8 hours. This is the method that a lot of people would be used, especially if they have clients that are ongoing or require a travel time as well. So it is highly used and in commercial setting. For example, when you're going to a full day in a studio shooting just some fashion stuff, so you are just charging by your time. A lot of times images are being retouched on the go because there's a retoucher on site that is doing this while you're actually shooting. So, and this is the rate that you only take for yourself. This is just your rate. On top of that, there's a studio hire, rent, there is a studio fee, there's an assistant fee, there's a light technician fee, there's a makeup artist fee, hair stylist fee. All that people also needs to be paid, but like the half day rate, it's yours. Some wedding photographers also use it, but for a wedding I definitely wouldn't recommend that. Another method of getting money for your photography is per image. So this is something really highly used, especially in e-commerce photography. When you have a studio, you're charging per image. It is usually that photography that, for example, you have just white infinity wall and you just have looks to shoot. So you have the same type of lighting, like 2-3 models tops, and they just change. Like, companies already prepared the looks for them, they just change, you shoot, change, shoot, change, shoot, that's it. So you charge per image. So it could be, for example, £5 per image per 500 images, or £10 per, 200 images, depending on your client's needs, etc, etc. But basically, essentially, you have a really simple e-commerce type of lighting, so it shows your subject, your product well. Usually it's just fashion related, and you're just being paid per image. Oh boy, okay, and let's talk about licensing, because this is another method of pricing your photography. Usage fees and licensing. This is something that a lot of amateur photographers don't realize, that you don't know your copyrights. First rule of any business, you need to know about the law. So, copyrights, in a nutshell, you are the sole owner of your copyrights. You own your art. You own your images. When you're taking photos for a client, you are giving them a license to use it. And how they're gonna use it, it depends on you. And this is why you need to have a contract. This is what the contract is for, so your client know exactly what they are paying for. They're paying this amount of money for example, photos that they can use on the website. But if they want to put it on a billboard, for example, they need to pay you additional money to purchase a license, because then you're gonna license that photo, the client, to be able to put it on a billboard. Because initial contract didn't stay so. It is, I would say, the most harmful in event photography, and this is something that I had to come across as well. You taking shots of the event, of the performing artist, and so on and so on. Your obligation is to the client. A lot of those images would be used by a completely third party, or to advertise another third party, another event, another competitor to my client. And this is when they need to purchase a license fee from me, because I am the copyright owner. This is not only violating my work if they don't do this, but also my client. So this is why having contracts is essential, but essentially you are able to license your photos. If you're doing stock photography, again, you are still owner of your copyrights, but you are licensing your photos and making money every time someone purchases a license from the stock website. Typically, licensing is done in like really big productions. For example, I will be shooting for Adidas, and then not only Adidas is paying for my photography fee, the job itself, but also is paying for licensing my work. That means I'm giving them the license to use my photography, for example, for 2 years after delivery of the photos. For this purpose, they can use it in TV, they can use it in social media, they can use it on YouTube. Anywhere else, they need to purchase another license. That's how it goes. People say that wedding photography is very profitable. And what I say to this, is it really so much profit in there? Or they just actually price their work correctly and they know their worth, so they are making money that reflects their level of experience, their expertise, and their delivery. Okay, so what underpricing and undervaluing ourselves actually does to photographers? Well, first of all, it is destroying the market. When you're undervaluing yourself, you're teaching your clients that we are worthless. If you're accepting £50 a job that should be priced for £500, you are devaluing ourselves as an artist, as a creatives. I get that sometimes you're desperate, and I literally just told you a few minutes ago, there was a time I was desperate too, so I understand that, but it has to come to the point that you need to start valuing yourself, because when you don't, we're teaching our clients that we can do all that work for nothing. But if we would be put in employment, if we would be put as employee for that company and do the same thing, how much would you charge? How much money you would be satisfied doing this on a daily basis as an employee? Exactly. What undervaluing does is also devaluing the prices for the entire market. So when you're as a hobbyist or as a student charging way less than you should, honestly, for people like me who live through this, who are actually full-time freelancers, self-employed or having a company, this is where we struggle to pay our bills. Because I'm doing this full-time on a freelance base, and if I have a client that requires 20 hours for a job that only pays £50, I'm not gonna be able to make a living. I'm not even gonna be able to pay my rent if I only do things like that for that amount of money. This is ridiculous. This has to stop. And third thing, don't really think about when it comes to devaluing your work, is that you're really devaluing yourself in the long run. If you're taking photograph as a favor to some people, like for example, you're gonna go to the actors, any acting professionals, and they need some headshots, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no worries, I'm just gonna do it for 20 quid. Not an issue. Because you think that you're gonna do a great job, and in a few months time they will come back to you and they will agree to do this for 200-300 pounds. No, the truth is you're never gonna see them again. All they will say about you is, oh, there's that photographer that is like cheap. Is this how you're gonna be known for? A cheap? Okay, so how much to charge for your photography? To make it as simple as possible, it's a business. What you need to be able to do is to have a profit. That's when you need to think of, when you price your photography, you need a profit. So you need to get your revenue minus expenses, and you need to make a profit. Breaking even, yes, it is possible. You can survive, but you need to start thinking as a business. You need a profit. If there's no profit, there's no business. If there's no business, go back to employment. Simple as it is. When you price yourself, what you need to remember is what your expenses are. And expenses being everything from internet, electricity, your gear, maintenance of that gear, insurance, travel costs, if you require a food on the job, meetings with the client, website cost, storage cost, all that stuff is your expenses. And taxes are your expenses too. Hello! Service tax in UK is 20%. You need to be able to charge in a way that you actually are able to pay that 20% of every job from your taxes later on, minus the expenses. You need to also know about taxes and what you can actually write off. All of that has to be a contributing factor in setting your prices. I price per job. I'm able to estimate and create an estimate based on what client actually wants and provide them with the cost breakdown. This is the shooting time, this is the estimated editing time, cost of potential studio, cost of any other people that might work with me because that's required. I am able to do that, so this is what I do. So I actually do custom pricing for every single client depending on their needs and jobs. And this is how I operate. For you, it might not be, but this is why we're having this video, to help you understand how you can do this. When it comes to pricing in different types of photography, when it comes to social photography, portrait photographer can take anything from 200-300 pounds per session to even 8,000 pounds if we're talking about like celebrity. Also, that will be a different pricing if it's just one subject or if it's a family of 20. Think about it. When it comes to product photography, honestly, product photography is amazing. I personally don't really do that. I probably should. A really pro photographer will make even 10,000, 20,000 pounds. But you can start anything from 1,000 to 3,000 per day. Weddings, anything between 1,000 to even 10,000 pounds per wedding. I know a photographer that actually does around 50,000 per wedding, but this is like really pro way of doing a wedding, and this is just her fee. Okay, this is just her fee. Anything else like travel expenses, she actually does the like all around the world assistance on top of the fee, and so on and so on and so on. So, and commercial photography, again, depending on the assignment, it can be anything from 2,000 to, again, infinity, depending on a day, on the project. If those numbers scared you, that means you're undercharging. It is, and it always will come down to the business. You need to make a profit. Being kind, obviously, it's great in life, in business, and so on, but the truth is, I like you, but I'm still charging you full price because this is my worth. And someone I was working as a social media manager, and one of my clients, it was a coffee chain. We really wanted to do an offer on the coffee in our agency. We really wanted to just make some kind of an offer, you know, like 10% off, 20% off, that kind of a stuff. And what he said to me that day, it left a gigantic impact on me and just imprinted in my brain. So this is how I'm gonna end this video and leave you with that. What he said to me after I asked him to make an offer of like 50% off the coffee, he said to me, listen, I know my product, I know exactly where it came from, I know every little bean that came to make that cup of coffee. I know exactly how much time it's spent traveling from X to Y, and I know how much exactly it is to purchase the machine that grind that coffee, that make that coffee. To train my baristas, I had to spend that amount of money and that amount of time to make them worthy of that coffee, so their hands can produce the best coffee ever. And then on top of that, to bring that lovely venue, that cafe into life, I had to make that amount of investment and get so much in sales. So when you come for that cup of coffee, not only you're enjoying the taste of it, but the experience all around. So I will never, ever devaluing the value of this coffee, because I know exactly how much it is, and it's either you pay for it or you don't. Start valuing yourself better.